Cathie Adams, national board member of the group Eagle Forum and a former chair of the Texas Republican Party. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate your time. So you heard Governor Abbott's remarks yesterday as it relates to the fetal heartbeat law and the question about why rape and incest survivors are not exempt from that law. What was your reaction to the governor's remarks?
Well, I have experience counseling in a crisis pregnancy center and talking to these young women who have been abused. And I think that we have got to have laws that protect them. I think that we need to look as soon as we can at rescuing them from these horrible situations. And I think that that needs to be our focus, not trying to get around the 6 weeks, but trying to minister to those young women who have been hurt by predators.
And so the governor came under a lot of criticism yesterday that, this was not, from the right and the left. Conservatives said this was not a very strong statement as it relates to pro-life, being pro-life. And you touched on it a little bit. So can you talk a little bit about your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that it is good that he signed the law. And I think that his comments were not well thought out, that they were not considering the young women who have been abused as thoroughly as he should have thought through. And the real problem is if you have a young girl who has been a subject of these heinous crimes, then you need to be going after those predators. You don't need to be trying to find ways, as AOC would put it, in order to extend the time when that girl can get rid of the evidence and then the predator goes free. So I think that the focus has got to be on those young girls who, if they have been subjected to one of these heinous crimes, we've got to protect them and we've got to go after the predators.
I'm trying to find the quote here yesterday from Don Huffines, who is running against the governor, as you know. And he said the pro-life response should always be to acknowledge the human value of all unborn children. And today, Greg Abbott fell short of that very clear standard. Do you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with Don Huffines and Ellen West that life begins at conception and we've got to protect it. And for those who think that they need free rein in order to get rid of the evidence, to kill the innocents, I think that this is wrongheaded. And absolutely, we should not be looking at those first 6 weeks as too short a time for those to get abortions. Instead, we should be saying, oh my goodness, how have these girls been hurt? And let's go after the predators.
And let me ask you, as far as, obviously Democrats have criticized the governor for not even knowing, they say, for not even knowing the full extent of the fetal heartbeat bill, the law. And they said that most women don't even know that they are pregnant at 6 weeks. So how do you respond to that?
Well, I think the Democrats are looking at dollar signs. They're looking at a very lucrative industry, and abortion has been very lucrative. Today, Planned Parenthood is not only making money off of abortions, but they're also making money off of being able to give children, underage children, drugs in order to change their genders. This is absolutely wrong-headed. The Democrats are wrong to be looking at it as anything other than we have got to protect these young mothers. We've got to protect innocent life.
Were you surprised by the governor's remarks? A lot of political people think the governor is usually very disciplined. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I think that, again, it's very good that the governor did sign this law, this bill into law. And I think that he had not thought through the rape and incest and looking at the innocence being any girl who has been abused and going after the predator instead of that girl. And also looking at the fact that he says, and we agree, that life begins at conception. And if that be true, we don't need to be using the first 6 weeks of a pregnancy in order to terminate it, in order to end innocent life.
How much damage do you think the governor did to himself politically, at least among Republican primary voters?
I think that those of us who are strongly pro-life and committed to these innocent young girls, as well as to life beginning at conception, are overall going to be looking at what the different candidates have to say about this legislation and about his response. And I think that Alan West, I think that Dawn Huffines are going to be rightly going after the right focus, which is on these and on the innocent life that we need to protect, and not looking at how we can get around the law.
All right. And as far as in the general election, as you know, Governor Abbott has more than 55 million in the bank. Do you think that his comments yesterday will make him more vulnerable to survive a primary challenge? And what about the general election?
Well, it's a long way off. And I think that people's memories are quite good when it comes to the life issue. I think that this is a turning point for those Hispanics who are pro-life, for those of us who have been in the trenches working for legislation like this for decades. And it's not going to be something easily forgotten. But again, the election is a far distance. And so we will continue to watch how the campaigns develop and who says what they are going to do in order to save innocent lives.
All right, Cathie Adams, national board member of Eagle Forum and a former Texas GOP chair. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time today.